This is Billy Burgess with the IBM Watson and Cloud Platform Architect team. Today I'm going to be giving a walkthrough of some of the infrastructure offerings on the IBM Cloud Catalog. And we're going to go through and deploy a virtual server and a Kubernetes cluster and see how quickly and easily that's done. Alrighty, here in the IBM Cloud Catalog, once you log in to see all of our offerings, just click on the catalog page, catalog button at the top left there. The infrastructure offerings we'll be talking about today are going to span compute, containers, network, and storage. There's obviously much more than that on the IBM Cloud Catalog, but just for this video, we don't have time to go through all of them. Let's go ahead and get started here. On the compute, there's a few offerings. The two major ones here are going to be your bare metal server and your virtual server. Your bare metal server is going to be just that, just an isolated bare metal instance, typically used for processor intensive workloads, a lot of I/O, very specific workloads. The idea here is you provision just the hardware, and everything above that you own and manage and can configure for a specific workload to get the best efficiency possible on those given workloads. Then there's the virtual server, which is our most common offering, I would say, used on IBM Cloud infrastructure. It's going to be virtualized hardware. There's going to be lots of configurations we'll see in just a minute when we go through and deploy one. You can pick your vCPUs, you can pick your RAM, and there's even GPU options in there as well. Also important is the WebSphere application server. The WebSphere app server is going to be something that's designed to get you up and running quickly, whereas bare metal server kind of has the most configuration. Virtual server is in the middle there. The web app server is going to have the least configuration, but going to get you up and running the quickest, specifically designed for a web app workload. Next, we're going to get into a category called VMware. VMware, if you don't know, is a virtualization offering, very, very popular in the marketplace, has a very strong foothold on-premise currently, and is in the process of becoming cloud native as well. So IBM and VMware have been partners that have gone back years and years, and we're happy to have some of the offerings they have on the cloud here. We have a few different offerings. They cover everything from virtualized compute, virtualized storage, virtualized network as well. The kind of lowest level, most basic, is this vSphere on IBM Cloud. Then stepping up, adding on kind of the NSX and the vSAN, so security and storage and network. It's going to be the vCenter server. Then our highest level offering is the VMware Cloud Foundation, which is everything you need to go and get ready. It's got the SDDC manager on top of what would be a vCenter server. Then there's going to be VMware services. We don't have time to get into all of these, but they're great for security, high trust, FortiGate, and then we have disaster recovery, backup services as well. Something like Zerto and Veeam there, very popular add-ons for services for the, VMware. And definitely wouldn't forget our IBM Cloud Private Hosted, which is kind of gives you the ability, utilizing containerization, which we'll talk about in a minute, and Kubernetes and VMware to create your own private VMware environment. We'll skip over the managed services there, but just know those are an option if you'd like to have management of your workloads there. Serverless compute functions is going to be our service that is around just deploying a single repeatable function. It is our highest level infrastructure offering. Some people don't consider it infrastructure. I won't really go into that debate. But imagine it as a function as a service. It's one repeatable action. For instance, if you're running a local application and you want to reach out to a cloud service, you can instantiate a function. Every time that function is hit, it will go out to the cloud, pull back whatever that function is programmed to do, and you only get charged per use of the function, instead of an infrastructure offering that you get charged the entire time it's up. So high level, most flexible cost model on that one. Cloud Foundry are going to be our pre-ready application models. They have SDKs for all sorts of different languages that you can see here. The quickest way to kind of get a specific website up and running using any of the given languages here is going to be with the Cloud Foundry apps. Those are going to get billed at a rate of just uptime per hour. Again, very easy, pretty much a one click, and you have a base deployment already ready to go at a URL that we'll provide for you. And then you can obviously build, modify on top of that. Containers here, we'll see the IBM Cloud Kubernetes Service and the container registry. The container registry is where you are going to store your container images for use and reuse. And you can make this private or you can make it public and shareable. Kubernetes service is going to be containerized application. Containers essentially will isolate away the OS layer for you, and is designed so that applications, you don't need to go down to that level to control them. The Kubernetes service will allow you to self-heal and scale applications much easier than if you were deploying them individually on monolithic type applications with virtual servers. So containerization, think portability, flexibility, and scalability. This is kind of the way that we're seeing enterprises go in the future, is toward this containerized approach for those very reasons. Next, we have our networking layer. Our networking layer is going to contain all sorts of great things, direct links to get into and out of our cloud for secure data transfer. We have a CDN, and then importantly is VPNs in and out of the cloud, but also load balancers for your different workloads. Lots of offerings there. Again, don't quite have time to get into all of them today. Then we go to the storage layer. Storage layer is going to have block storage, file storage, and object storage, along with a third-party box offering. File storage is just your standard file storage offering. Not much to see there. Block storage is going to be great for database type workloads that are going to be kind of high performance type workloads. And then object storage is going to be kind of agnostic to the type of storage. There's no schema. So it just stores everything as chunks of objects. It's very scalable, relatively cheap for storage, really good for backup and DR type solutions for object storage there. And we can dig into those individual offerings more if you'd like to contact me in person. My email is william.burgess@ibm.com. We can talk about those further in person. Let's go to the last little bit of this video here where I will deploy containers, a Kubernetes cluster, and then we will do a virtual server. So the Kubernetes cluster, once you click into any of those offerings, you'll have some helpful links on the left. I would highly suggest going to the docs page of each of those if you have any other questions. There's more info out there, I like to say, than anyone really has time to learn in their entire life. So please click into those, look around, probably has the answers you need there as well. So once you can scroll here, see the high-level features, some images of what those look like. We'll go ahead into the create portion. There's a pre-configured kind of standard cluster there that has for you. Pricing is very obvious. Obvious is the wrong word. Transparent on the right in terms of what you're paying for and how much it's going to cost you. You can go different availability. You can go multi-zone availability if you want. Something that is a little more redundant in terms of making sure that your uptime is as high as possible. You can pick what zone you're going to go in. We'll pick DC because that's where I'm located. And it'll load the VLANs there. While it's doing that, we can go down and see the default worker pool and what Kubernetes cluster you like. We'll continue with the stable default one there. You can go to newer ones or older ones should your application be more appropriate for those versions. Then we go down to the hardware isolation level. You can choose to have a virtual shared server or a dedicated server. Again, even on a shared server, tenants are logically separated, all their workloads. So, don't worry about bleeding over of anything. That will not happen. The biggest benefit there is that your dedicated servers, you're less likely to be impact performance-wise, just in case that one server is hosting containerized images that lots of them are running high-intensity workloads at the same time. That's why you would go to a dedicated. And then bare metal is obviously, like we discussed earlier, the difference is going to be no isolation, a little bit more control there. For higher performance, it's going to be at a higher price point typically. And then you can click through here in terms of how many cores you want and how many gigs of RAM you want. We'll just leave it at the natural settings. But those are all the options you have. Then you get to pick the number of worker nodes you want. We typically will start with 3, but you can configure this for as little as 1 or as many as you like there. The benefit to this is whatever you configure it as long as it's not changed, should one of those nodes ever die, the master node will understand that a worker node has died and reinstantiate another worker node immediately with the same workload that was on it previously. So that's that self-healing portion of Kubernetes. And that's really all you have to do is just confirm that these are all the configurations that you want, and then hit create cluster, and it'll create a cluster for your workload. Now let's go back and look at the virtual server and see the options there. So the virtual server, we'll click into there. Same thing as the Kubernetes option. Obviously, bare metal is its own instance. We have that option with Kubernetes. With a virtual server, you have the public one or the dedicated one. Public is going to be suitable for most workloads. Dedicated is going to be a virtualized environment that is, again, going to be more secure in terms of performance characteristics. There's not going to be any impact from other workloads being on the same servers. So we'll go in and pick public. Again, the dedicated is going to be more expensive typically, so we'll steer away from that unless it's necessary. In the virtual server, you get to create a host name and a domain. You'll get to pick your location. I'll pick NA East because it's closest to me. You have a couple popular options here that we have people go with. There's way more options than that if you click into the all flavors. There's more balanced compute to storage. Couple more options here, and again, all the price points are on the side as well. Then there's more compute heavy storage, and there's more memory heavy storage, or configurations rather. And then there's the GPU options as well. So pick whatever's appropriate for your workload there. You can add in your own SSH keys, pick your image type. There's these little add-ons. One thing I'm not a huge fan of so far is just that this little add-on button I feel like should be more visible. A lot of people will miss it. There's another one down all the way at the bottom. But click into that. A lot of this stuff is free to add on. So antivirus and spyware protection is free. Advanced monitoring is free. And the business continuance insurance is free as well. So I typically will add those on. And we'll go down here and you can adjust the disk size on that. So if you need additional storage there, you can certainly add that on. And there's a network interface if you need, additional networking capabilities surrounding that. That's totally configurable there, and you can configure your security groups and your VLANs. And again, don't forget at the bottom there's another add-on section. So if you need firewalls, those are free to add on as well. There's additional options under each of these, and then you can add on IP addresses as well. And that's it there. Your configuration will be confirmed on the right and will adjust as you select or deselect those. So you'll see that stuff added in there. And it'll tell you total due per hour, or you can select it monthly. But all you do is go through and pick those configurations and then check that you've agreed and then provision it. And that's the gist. That's how easy it is to deploy a Kubernetes cluster and a virtual server on IBM Cloud. Thanks.